March 2026 CIECA webinar, What You Haven't Heard About AI in the Collision Industry. I'm Paul Berry, Executive Director for CIECA. The Collision Industry Electronic Commerce Association, or CIECA, develops and promotes electronic communication standards that allow the collision industry to be more efficient. We also provide webinars like this one to help educate both members and non-members on trends that impact systems, processes, and the exchange of data across the industry. I would like to say that I'm joining you today live from the parking lot of a grocery store because we had a big power outage overnight, so I'm working out of my car and hopefully I won't lose internet service before we're done. So I'd like to welcome today our two presenters, Mark Fincher, Vice President of Product Management at CCC Intelligent Solutions, and Bill Brower, Senior Vice President of North American Claims and Global Industry Relations with Solera. As we start the webinar, I want to remind you there will be no verbal communication between the participants and the presenter. If you have questions during the webinar, please type them in the Q&A panel on the top of the screen, and we will answer as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. Well, welcome, gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining us here today. Mark, I'm going to start with you. AI is in everything. I think my dishwasher has AI. I think my garage door opener has AI. It's all over the place, and it can be confusing. Can you start us out with just what do we mean by AI, and what are the core capabilities of AI?
Yeah, thanks, Paul, and thanks for doing this from your car. It's amazing. So I just want to thank you for having Bill and I on today first. This is such an exciting topic, and I agree, it's everywhere in our lives. And I don't know about you guys, but whether it's personal conversations, professional conversations, I'm out playing golf, we're talking about AI the whole time. I'm having dinner with my wife, we're talking about AI the whole time on our walks. It just seems like it's kind of consuming. Maybe I'm just geeking out on it, but it seems like it's consuming so much of my daily life and conversation, just learning more about it. I think we're all diving into it. Obviously at CCC, we've been working on AI for over a decade now, so we're absolutely thrilled to be part of today's conversation. I know Bill is as well. So thanks again. But back to your question, I think it's a great place to start, just getting grounded on terminology. You're going to hear Bill and I talk a lot about, I'm sure, using some terms today. And when we talk about AI, we kind of use it this catch-all term when it actually, there's a lot of different capabilities that make up artificial intelligence. And at the foundation, you have machine learning, which is really kind of where it all started. Machine learning is about finding patterns in large amounts of data and using those patterns to make predictions. And so coming off of machine learning, then is you have computer vision, which is especially important, collision, auto physical damage, because so much of our workflow starts with photos. And so computer vision helps AI interpret what it sees in images, things like where the damage is, what type of damage, what panel is this, how severe is it? And so that's where a lot of us in the industry started in order to help simplify, speed up the estimating process, which is what kicks off this whole claim process. Another important area that you'll hear us talk about, I'm sure, is natural language processing, or NLP. Which is AI's ability to work with human language. So this has been used for a long time. It's actually, Google's been relying heavily on this for a long time to interpret our search queries. Depending on which way we type it, it can figure out what we're trying to ask for and provide a set of results back. But much more recently, we're all using natural language processing and Alexa and Siri as AI is converting our voice to data. And then as those systems talk back to us, it's using natural language processing to convert that data back to voice. And so we're seeing this show up in our industry, especially on the collision side. We're seeing insurance as well and call centers where interactive voice is starting to take over, and we're having a much more intelligent conversation with these systems versus, press 1, press 2, the kind of robotic process of the past. We can now provide a much more human-like, intelligent conversation when we're communicating with consumers, answering questions through chatbots, that kind of thing. There's generative AI, which is what most of us are talking about today, all the things that we're experimenting with: ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Copilot. That's all generative AI, which really is about creating new content, summarizing, explaining, making recommendations, creating new messages. That's all generative AI that exists in those solutions. And then lastly, the next stage is that I'm most excited about is agentic AI. And so that's where AI moves beyond just answering a question or converting our language to actually taking action in a workflow. So think about a common thing that I hope many of you have tried, if not are doing on a regular basis, where you go to ChatGPT and say, help me plan this vacation, whether it's for a weekend, whether it's for a week in Europe, and you put in where you want to go and what you want to do, and it'll break that down into an hour by hour itinerary for you. But then at the end of all that, that's generative AI. You've got to go book a flight, book a hotel, book a rental car, book an excursion. What we'll see here very quickly in the future is agentic AI taking over and now actually doing those things for you. Agentic comes from the word, I always thought it was an agent, but it actually comes from the word agency, where we're giving the artificial intelligence of the system agency to make decisions independently on its own, to go book that flight, to go book that rental car. Of course, there's guardrails that may prompt us and say, here's something I found. Do you want me to book now? Yes, but that's where we're going to see this go, to agentic AI. So when we talk about AI, we're really talking about a combination of technologies that can see, can understand, predict, generate, and now increasingly more and more we're going to see AI start to act.
Great, thanks. Bill, so when we look at AI in the collision and insurance claims areas, what's in place today? Not necessarily in pilot, but what's in production environment today?
Yes, great question. And so first of all, Paul and Mark, thanks so much for making this possible today. I think this is very timely, exciting conversation. For me personally, I have been in the industry, gosh, a long time, I guess over 35 years. So I was in the industry before there was even computer estimating. And so having seen all that's taken place over the years, it's really been impressive to see what technology can do to make our lives easier and to positively impact our businesses. So as far as how it's being used today, everybody thinks about AI. Usually if I talk with audiences, the first thing that people think about, and Mark mentioned it, was AI for taking photographs and creating estimates through AI. That's really been moving in a rapid pace, and Mark and my company both, we've really been enjoying the fact that's really been growing and continues to improve. But there's other ways that the industry is using AI that the audience may not think about very often. So, for example, taking a loss report, taking that loss report using AI, using an AI agent to ask questions. I've been very impressed with how this capability has improved a lot. I remember, I don't know, it's been a few months ago now, but I do order takeout for the family from time to time food. And there was this one restaurant in my neighborhood I called to do a takeout order. Usually I talk with someone, and I was very, when I first called and I realized that I was not going to talk to a human, I was going to talk to a machine, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be terrible. But it actually went smooth. And to be honest with you, it went smoother than if I talked to a person. So I was impressed. But when you think about that, that's the kind of thing that's going to make the loss reporting much more convenient and maybe avoid some delays. At Solera, we operate 5 call centers. So we have AI that we're implementing in our call centers to just augment what we currently have with people. And so that's one of those things that's real. It's in place today in some markets. It is new, but it is something that's having an impact. I think it'll have an impact for shops as well as insurers. I know a number of insurers have added AI in their front end process. Another one is total loss decisions and triaging. So that's one that has really been taken off as well. And at Solera, we have a solution for that allows someone, if they're able to just take a couple of pictures and send it maybe during the call, the AI will determine, is this a low severity accident that needs to go to a shop? Is it is it likely a total? And we'll put a confidence rating. We're 95% sure this car is total. So it allows the insurance company to move that car directly to maybe a salvage auction or something like that. And then another area that I talk about with AI, and a lot of people don't think about it with AI, but is claim payments. So, when COVID hit, one of the things that happened was a lot of insurance companies, and not just insurance companies, but anyone who has to make a lot of payments, they had these large processing centers for payments. And they were I've been in these shops before where you have these huge printers and they're printing out checks and printing out envelopes and mailing them. And now we're seeing a lot more AI or a lot more digital payments. But believe it or not, AI actually benefits that as well, because you can pull the information right out of the claim system for the person that needs to be paid, so that you get the bank information, you get the address information, you get everything that needs to be processed. Right now, you may have a person click a button to actually push it to be processed, but AI is driving that to make that more convenient. So I'd say the four practical areas today: really the estimating, the photo estimating, the first notice of loss, taking the loss reports. It is triage, whether it's total loss decisioning or just trying to decide the best resource for a claim, and then even paying the loss to automate that process. So like I said, the audience may not be aware of how many places AI is used, but it's really more popular and more common than you might think.
Great, thanks. Appreciate it. Mark, if we look back 5, 10 years ago, how did we get where we are? What did it take to get from where we were to where we are today?
Yeah, it's amazing, this explosion we've seen. It really comes down to a few things coming together all at the same time. So first, when we specifically think about collision, auto physical damage, this industry has become much, much more digital over the past decade. In 2010, our research showed that there was less than 4,000 shops that were even using a shop management system to computerize, organize their information. Today, there's over 15,000 collision repair facilities using a shop management system to organize estimates, photos, repair plans. They're doing all their parts procurement, signing labor. So we have this digitization that's really created like a foundation that AI needs to then act. Second, we have a lot of historical data. AI gets powerful when it can learn from large data sets, and we've been training our data models on over $1 trillion of claims, hundreds of millions of photos, connecting those together and using AI to detect those patterns. Like I said, we've been doing that for a decade now. So that historical data is really important as well. Third is compute, and that's really come a long way. And we've seen this massive acceleration in compute over the past several years here. So no longer do we have, there's a combination of things. There's compute processing and where the data lives. And so in the past, we had all this data sitting in closets at body shops locally, and now we've all moved that data up to the cloud over the past decade. And in addition, we have this modern processing capabilities now with GPUs that can make it really possible to run the complex models that we're running today at scale that just wasn't practical before. We have the models themselves. So they've improved so much. We've got these modern neural networks that are much better at handling all this messy, disconnected data and actually making sense of it, bringing together and providing meaningful results for all of us as end users. And then lastly is standards and interoperability. And so this matters more than ever before. And this is really where CIECA becomes such an important piece of this entire puzzle. AI only creates real value when it can work across the ecosystem, not just in a silo. We're excited about the opportunities that AI brings to work amongst this entire auto physical damage ecosystem. And that's where standards, interoperability is going to become, it is and will become even more key. And that's the really good work that CIECA has been doing for 3 decades now to create those standards and bring that interoperability to the industry. So I'd say that what's really changed is digitization. We've become more connected, more data rich, and more technically capable, really all at once. It's been kind of this perfect storm that's happened here over the past 3 to 4 years. It's really helped accelerate, and we've seen this explosion of what's possible today.
Great, thanks. Bill, in the interest of time, can you take just a minute or so and touch on the 600-pound, gorilla in the middle of the room, which is what is this going to do to people's jobs? Everybody worries about AI taking their jobs. Can you address that?
Yes. And let me start by tying in something Mark said. So yes, this is a pretty interesting how this has evolved. I had the good fortune of while I was at Liberty Mutual leading physical damage claims, one one of the projects I was working on was figuring out how to get photos electronically from people, for people to take it from their phone, send it into my adjuster. I was going to have an adjuster handle it remotely. That's where it all started. I didn't even know how to spell AI back then. That was just, hey, I'm just going to get pictures, and then we're going to figure out how to write an estimate. We'll schedule some people some time. It worked, and it really worked pretty well. And the chief claims officer at the time at Liberty Mutual, once we got it stood up, he said, I love this. He said, but why can't the computer write the estimate? And so we began to really challenge, and again, I was on the insurer side, but we challenged all the software providers like CCC and Audit or Solera to create something here. And so this is where it all sort of started. And so even then, when we were talking about handling claims remotely with photographs, some of the concerns were things like, oh my goodness, the field job's going away, or some roles are going away, and people were worried about it. But I don't see it that way. Yes, there are some changes. There is some evolution. Right now, we're seeing a high percentage of vehicles or damages being written virtually using AI, or at least photos, if not using the AI component. And so less field inspections are taking place, but you still need those adjusters to handle those claims remotely. So it gives the adjuster a bit more flexibility. Maybe some of their work's in the field, some of their work's on the desk. But what I'm seeing, and we have one of our shop groups out of Canada, CarStar Group, we have a gentleman named Sebastian Torres, who's a franchise owner of several shops. And he actually implemented AI estimating, transformed the whole claim intake process. And what he did in a nutshell, he was able to take a process that often took days, because usually a customer comes in, the shop estimator comes out, they take some pictures, and they say, hey, I'll send you an estimate tomorrow or in 2 days. And he leveraged AI to capture this information early and to produce the estimate within 15 or 20 minutes and lock in the repair right at that time in the, while the customer's at the shop before they even leave. And so its capture rate increased. I mean, it's a great story. He has like 17% increase in revenue, 25% reduction in cycle time. It's just been a great story. Now, his people in his shops that started this were worried this could take my job, right? I might not have a job. And what it was piloted well. I call it, human guided AI, because what he did is this process actually made the employee's job easier. Because what my earlier example, when you go in, when someone takes pictures and they write an estimate days later, well, what that really means is they're doing it at night when the shop closes, or if it's an adjuster, they're having to do it maybe on time outside their normal workday. Leveraging AI, that night homework went away, and they were able to produce this information very quickly and lock in the repair. And so the way I view this is it's really, think of it as human guided AI that's not taking jobs away. It's just making people more efficient, more effective, more consistent in their processes. And it's, quite frankly, making them more valuable. If you can do this well using the AI tools, you're the person people want to hire.
Thanks. Taking on from there, when COVID hit, photo estimating exploded, and then the application of AI on that. So we have a lot of claims now that have gone through this process. Mark Fincher, what is your experience, or what are we learning? What are the strengths of AI in estimating, and where is there room for opportunity?
Yeah, that's a great question. So AI is really good, and we've seen, to Bill's point, we've been doing this for a while now. Last year, we saw over 1 million estimates written using AI, just in shops alone, let alone insurance companies. And it's really good at the repetitive, high volume, pattern based tasks. And what I always characterize that as kind of the low value task. So for example, it can review photos really quick. It can identify damage on those photos. As Bill talked about, help classify claims, route claims to the appropriate place. It's great at that. Even getting better at surfacing, likely repair operations, repair versus replace, and total losses, as we've mentioned already, is a great area for AI to help out with, just identify the total loss. But that's where it outperforms humans. Speed, consistency, scale on those pattern kind of based tasks, where humans still matter. most is in we need human judgment, we need context, accountability. A photo doesn't always tell the full story, especially in collision repair. There could be a lot of non-visible damage that the photo can't see, and AI just can't assume. It can, from previous patterns, can suggest or recommend or potentially predict what other underlying damage is there. But at the end of the day, we have to order parts. We actually have to do those repairs. We have to make sure we're billing for what we're doing as a collision repair facility. Insurance companies only paying for what's being done on that specific vehicle. So that's all still really important for the professional to be in the loop, that human in the loop, or what we call combining human intelligence with artificial intelligence, and the two working together in tandem. So having experienced people is still really critical to the process. They bring context, they handle exceptions, and every collision is unique. So where that process could get off the tracks, a problem that we're looking at is not straightforward. We need the human to be in the loop there to solve that. So I don't see AI as replacing people. I really view it much what Bill said as just taking the low value work out and escalating those higher value decisions to the human, and having the human have more time to spend on those decisions, which really gives, I think, our industry in general such an opportunity for the professionals to focus on the things that matter most. So spending more time with the customer. We hear that a lot, where the customer just gets stuck in the lobby. Estimator goes behind the desk, writes the estimate. They're nervous. They don't know what, they haven't been in an accident in 10 years or if ever, and they don't know really what's going on. Being able to engage the customer at the vehicle while we're assessing the damage, while the AI is helping us assess the damage, is such a better experience. We can show empathy during that process to the consumer. And not just on that whole creating more time to create a better consumer experience, but then more time to work on safety, quality of repairs, work with the technicians, help them troubleshoot, problem solve. We got the wrong part in, let's get the right part quickly. All that time that can be freed up from those low value tasks to work on those high value tasks is really important. And as Bill said, who doesn't want to get home at a decent time? The estimators, CSRs, you look at adjusters and their workloads, we're all working more and more hours a day, and just being able to have this assistant that's not replacing us, but actually helping us do our job better, faster, is, I think, just a great outcome, and one of the most exciting things that AI offers for us, each of us individually, and for this industry as a whole.
Great, thanks. Bill, looking at those estimates, what kind of edge cases or errors do we need to be aware of and keep an eye out for? Oh. Bill, I think you're on mute.
Yep, we lost you. There you go. We got you.
Okay. All right. I don't know what happened there. No, I think the thing that I always urge people to be careful of is not to have over dependence on the AI. As Mark was saying, there's going to be exceptions. And I think for what I find are insurers and shops, when they first start, dipping their toe in this space of AI, sometimes people expect perfection. I'm going to put this in. I don't need people now. That this is going to take care of this process. It just doesn't work that way. It's going to be a way to empower the human and the expert appraiser in this case. But you can't have overdependence. I had an example where say something to watch for. So I told some folks I've been driving a long time. I've had 3 accidents in my life, fortunately none my fault, but I had 2 of those in the month of January this year. I was really scared to drive in January after that. But I got somebody ran a stop sign and hit one car and totaled it, and then I got rear-ended after getting a new car. It was a crazy time. But what I experienced was the opportunity to interact with a couple of different insurance companies. Won't name any names, but one of the things that I noticed, and I think this is easy to happen when it comes to something like the phone system. Like today, the thing, and I call it AI, I guess you would categorize it as AI, but when I would call a specific insurance company, it would first recognize my phone number and confirm it's me. And then it also it knew that what claim was open. And so it said, okay, I think you're calling about this particular type of claim. And I'm like, yes. Or I click a button and say yes, or I verbally say yes. And then it says, okay, we're going to put you in, we're going to connect you with the adjuster. So this one example, I was actually waiting. I had just a piece of information that needed to be relayed to the body shop on a Friday afternoon so I could pick up the car. And as I went into this process, getting me to the right adjuster was wonderful. That was perfect. But that person was away and said, I'll get back with you in 24 hours was the message. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work. I couldn't get out of the loop. Like I couldn't get out and talk to a person. After about 45 minutes, I figured out a way to get to a person. But that was what I would call over dependence in AI, where you don't have that option out for someone to get a human on the line. And so I think one of the things to really be careful of is any process you build, you've got to have, the customer needs to have the ability to use the digital or the technology or to be able to talk with a human. And so on the shop side, I think when you think about AI estimating, I recommend at this point, there's some small estimates that a shop could process without looking at it, or an insurance company. But for the most part, I still recommend eyes on the estimate just to make sure that nothing's missed. It looks complete. And so if you put a process in place where you just have no one look at claims that go through AI, that would be a problem. So I would say the things to be concerned about is beware not to have an overdependence. And design it with your people, your actual production people working with these solutions to design what the ultimate and what the final process is going to be. When I say final, it's going to continue to evolve. This technology is improving every day. But you want to be able to have a process that people are comfortable following. And if they do that, they have the controls in place where they're not over depending on the AI, but using it appropriately as a human guided, human guided tool. It will be much more successful, and they'll have happier customers as well.
Great, thank you. So kind of pushing forward here a little bit, the collision process has a lot of moving parts. Certainly the estimate is a very important part of the process, but there's a lot more to it. There's total loss, there's salvage, there are a lot of other components to the process. So Mark, beyond estimating, where is AI having the biggest impact for insurers today? And whether that's total loss, decisions, subrogation, or bodily injury identification, what are you seeing in your world?
Yeah, it's a good point. We've been kind of focused so much on estimating over the past several years, but if you just take that average claims adjuster, whether they're on the auto physical damage side, whether they're on the BI side, they can have up to 100 claims open at any given time. I've seen examples of even up to like 300 claims. Like, it's crazy the workload that they're carrying. And so think about the time for that claims adjuster to be able to shift gears. And I like Bill, I had a claim in November as well. And just talking to my adjuster, I could see like the time it took him to get up to speed on where I was at, where things were at with my specific claim. And then he's doing that dozens, if not 100 times a day, switching context between those tasks, between that information. So it's incredible the amount of work that they're handling each month. And where I really think AI is having that impact is helping with earlier signals in the process to really lead, that ultimately leads to better decisions. So we talked about damage assessment, we talked about total loss, but bodily injury, to your point, Paul, that's a great example where AI can help identify files that could really carry a higher injury risk earlier in the process by looking at things like loss details, severity, patterns. This before would take half an hour for a claims adjuster to come up to speed on. But with AI now, it can allow insurers to bring that right expertise in sooner. They can get through those documents faster. It can summarize that information for the BI adjuster and recommend that next best action for them. So that's one example in BI. And Subro, again, you have a lot of documentation. You get sent this demand packet from the insurer, and you have to comb through that demand packet to figure out all the details of the specific incident, the case, the estimate, the damage. Are we paying the right amount? Was the right repairs done on the specific vehicle that we should be paying for? It's so much information to comb through. And AI, as we've all seen in our personal lives, again, like being able to drop a document into AI or summarize a web page, like it's so good at being able to condense information, bring it into a more human readable format. Subrogation is a perfect use case for that. And then again, on the action side, after looking at that information, recommending next best actions. Fraud is another area that we've been working on, or fraud detection, I should say, where we're helping insurers. There's $300 billion a year spent on insurance fraud, and then FBI estimates that that's costing each of our families $400 to $700 a year in our insurance rates. And being able to use AI to detect that fraud more accurately, faster, sooner in the process can help take a lot of that cost out, which ultimately can mean savings to us. So as AI becomes more agentic, I think it goes even a step further, where it's not just summarizing documents, not just flagging a file, but it's actually taking action and taking that next step to help that adjuster move that file through the process faster, ultimately deliver a better customer experience to all of us as we go through that claim process, whatever phase of that claim process may be, whether it's subro or BI or going through just the auto physical piece as well. So I'd say for insurers, the big theme really is moving from reactive handling to more proactive handling earlier in the process with more intelligent decision making.
Mark, I'd jump in and say I think those are great examples, particularly the medical claim, because
Yep.
What tends to happen with most insurers, there are multiple levels of adjuster staff. Like maybe for a simple low severity injury, you have sort of a more junior person maybe handling that claim. They handle a volume of those. Then it goes to a mid tier and a higher tier. And so one of the things that I think AI can really benefit on there is sensing the signals that says this needs to go all the way to the more senior person for this particular type of injury. Because I think a lot of times people, they get frustrated waiting to get to maybe the person they need, and that might push them to get legal advice, which could cause some other issues. And the other thing, and I didn't mention this when I was talking about FNOL, but one of the other things that we do with our call intakes is that we use some technology, I call it AI technology, that picks up on the sentiment of the customer. So we can tell if the customer seems really, if they seem irritated. Sometimes the person taking the call may not pick up some of these signals as quickly, but the AI will pick it up, and they'll actually signal, on the computer screen, the person taking the call will get these signals that maybe suggest they slow down, or maybe suggest they do listen a little more, or whatever, just to kind of understand how to best communicate with the customer. Well, that can also help to elevate the status of that claim to a more senior person if there's signals that this is going to get out of control if we don't get this elevated. So that's great. Those are great examples.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, agree.
Okay, so that's great information on the insurance side. Bill, what's going on in the repair side? How can repairers use it beyond just estimating?
Well, I guess the best example is the one I mentioned earlier on Sebastian and the CarStar group out of Canada. Yes, it's estimating, but the thing that they have, what they've done is, like I said, the traditional process is I go in for an estimate, they take pictures and they say, Bill, we'll get back with you in a couple of days. And not only is there more work because they didn't use AI to get the estimate completed or mostly completed right away. So it creates more work on them. But the thing that really moved the needle, the reason Sebastian had 17% increase in his revenue, was because the claim moved more quickly. So what happens if I go in and they say, I'll get back with you in a couple of days? Well, I'm going to drive back home, and I might, as a customer, like Mark said, I haven't been through these. I haven't been in an accident in a long time, so I don't know. I don't know if I was supposed to get an estimate or not. So on the way back, I see another body shop I passed. Maybe I stop in there to get an estimate because I was disappointed I didn't get one in the place I picked. So it puts at risk you're going to get the job. Basically, there's many ways that job could go in another place, in another direction. You lose it. But more importantly, what it was doing for Sebastian is he was able to land the job in the time the customer's there, 15, 20 minutes. He gives them an estimate, explains the estimate, and then he's able to, his person, and it might be the administrative person that greets the customer because they're using AI to capture photos, and the talented person or the person who's skilled in estimating is sitting at their desk, may never stand up from their desk. They're just simply finishing it once they notice that the customer has arrived, they've taken the images. But what's happening is they're able to go ahead and schedule them. So they capture them so they don't have a risk of not capturing that job, and they don't play phone tag for 2 or 3 days. But even more importantly, they're scheduling it, and AI is helping them to decide where this fits, like which technician, which time does this fit best. It helps them to fill holes. Like in my, former days before I got into insurance, my family owned a body shop. So I had personal firsthand experience with this. The body shop technicians, there's always time that they are not productive because they're waiting on a part, they're waiting on an application to dry or whatever. So the nice thing about this is able to fill those gaps so that the schedule is tighter and you've got more productive time for your technicians. So when I look at it from a shop standpoint, it is the estimate, but and more importantly, it's capturing the job. It's right away. It's scheduling the job so that they're not, sort of losing it, and it is getting a schedule that maximizes the capacity they have with their staff, so that they're providing, more profit opportunity for the employees as well as for the business. And then, from a customer standpoint, when shops take this approach, they tend to also use AI to provide customers with status of how the repair is progressing. So that helps to reduce disappointments when people think the car is almost ready and then they find out it's just moved into the paint shop.
Thanks. So Mark, like you and Bill, I had an auto claim last year. Again, not my fault. I get to blame somebody else. But the biggest delays and challenges in that one were parts. Is there anything that AI can do to contribute with improvements in the parts process?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that because I was thinking as Bill was talking about those gaps, and parts can be such a big part of that, where you have technicians just sitting idle waiting for the parts to come in. That whole process is still, even though we've digitized a lot of it, it's still a pretty inefficient process and a lot of opportunity for AI to come in and help. And it really starts up front at the beginning at sourcing, as that estimate's being created. We've got the estimate as context. So we've got vehicle information, we've got some history, we've got prior outcomes. We know what the buying behaviors or the sourcing behaviors of that specific repair facility are across a wide array of vehicles, insurance companies. What do I source differently for a customer pay versus I do for a specific DRP job? And so we have that history that can allow AI to really identify the best parts from the best suppliers for that specific repair. And obviously, as we talked about, like that matters so much because if we get the wrong parts sourced up front, it's going to cause a number of problems downstream. And we could end up, like Bill mentioned, having that technician just sitting there idle. So this is where getting that sourcing up front, eliminating all those human decisions that need to be made, or I shouldn't even say eliminating, but augmenting those human decisions. If you think about every part that's selected, you have a human that's figuring out, okay, am I going to go OEM? Am I going to go aftermarket? Am I going to go recycled? Which supplier am I going to use for this? What's the availability of that part? If I'm in a DRP contract for this specific repair, what are the requirements of the DRP agreement that I have? The list goes on. And obviously all those things have to factor in. And I'm doing that as an estimator. I'm doing that every single time I'm selecting that part. And so those decisions, this is another place where AI can come in and help, again, based on those prior patterns, make those decisions. And once we get that sourcing right up front, then that's going to flow through the rest of the process. I talked about agentic earlier, where agentic AI can then take the next step. If we've sourced properly, agentic AI can just place those orders automatically, and not just place the orders, but then go out and check on those orders. We talked about natural language processing earlier. So think about that system either, using agentic AI to communicate with the other system to check on status, but it doesn't even have to have a receiving system on the other end. As Bill was talking about with a call center, we can actually have AI call out to that part supplier like a human and have that conversation with the supplier and get status on the part. And if it's on back order, maybe the agent, this is obviously we're moving out into the future here, but as the agent could then actually take an action or even order from an alternative supplier if that part's on back order. But where it really starts to get crazy, imagine the body shop agent is calling the part supplier. The part supplier has agentic AI on their side picking up the phone, and you could have agentic AI talking to agentic AI. That's the voice world, but we're going to see that more and more in the digital world, where these agents are talking to agents. And this again goes back to interoperability standards, what we've talked about, where CIECA comes into play. If we have one system, maybe a shop management system at the body shop talking to a supplier's inventory management system, those systems need to be able to talk and communicate with each other and provide status updates, make different decisions. So that's where that really comes in. So I think there's a ton of opportunity here. Obviously, that can all lead to fewer returns. Invoicing is another example. Today, driver shows up, 10 parts coming off the truck, hand that parts manager a paper invoice, and now a lot of manual entry has to start if we didn't go through a digital process. And that AI has a great role to play there. We've actually just released to all of our repair workflow, the shop management customers on our side, they have the ability now to just scan an invoice with AI, just like we all have been scanning checks for years now for our banking. They can scan that invoice. The AI will automatically decipher who it's from, what parts are on that invoice, link them all back to the parts on the repair order, and receive those parts electronically just from that one scan from the invoice. So that's just one example of where AI is already practically, it's happening today, and where we'll continue to see that in other parts of that parts process to really create a more efficient ecosystem around the supply chain.
Great, thanks. Yeah, you mentioned the agentic AI, calling an agentic AI. Hopefully we can find a more efficient way than having them speaking English.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay. So, Bill, I spent 30 years of my, like you, 30 years working on claims systems and processes. And the biggest gap that was the most difficult to solve is the handoff when you're going from the adjuster to the body shop or the body shop to the parts provider. Can you dig a little deeper into what you see happening there?
Absolutely. And yes, and by the way, Mark mentioned this earlier, the importance of CIECA in the marketplace has never been more important than it is today. Because you think about all these different groups that are a part of the claims ecosystem or insurance ecosystem, they need to talk to each other. And you've got OEMs getting more involved in, some having their own insurance programs, and whether they're having their insurance programs or not, just the ability to transfer information back and forth on parts availability, all that kind of stuff. So just never a more important time for CIECA than we see right now. But for me, I've been working on this for several years, actually. Even before I joined Solera, I was with a data company after leaving the insurance carrier side. And so I put this thought leadership together on where claims can be in the future. I call it touchless claims. And just to kind of summarize, here's kind of how I see a future claim. Now, all of this capability exists today. I'm not saying that companies are using all this capability today, but it all exists today. And so I share it in kind of a demo type of process. But basically, I tell a story. If Mark and I were driving along and I'm not paying attention, I'm probably distracted looking at my phone for directions, and he stopped at a traffic light. I failed to realize he was stopped. I hit his car. Nobody's hurt. We move over to the side and, share a little bit of information. Well, Mark's not excited about Bill because I just banged his car. So I'm back in my car waiting for the police, because police are coming to write a report. Mark's waiting for the police. But I talk about this story where I pick up my insurance card, because I had to take my insurance card out and show it to Mark, and he got a picture of it. But if it had a QR code on it, think about it. Like then I'm sitting there in my car. I've got a few minutes to kill waiting on the police to arrive, write me a ticket. I hover over that QR code, and boom, it identifies who I am. Now that's using data. All of this is not from Solera, but this is from different companies that are a part of the ecosystem. It's a data provider that's able to identify. It's basically, my insurance company has created the QR code that I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. The insurance company's created the QR code that identifies me. So it identifies me. I answer a couple of questions, but not typing, just touching the screen. Like, were you in an accident? Yes. How many cars? 2. It'll ask me those kind of questions. And then it'll prompt me to do things like take a picture of the license plate of the car I'm driving. Even though I have, they know my car, I have more than one car. So I take a picture of it. I take a picture of Mark's license plate. It can immediately pull in information from a third party of, like, for example, Mark, who's he insured with, what's his address, phone number, all the information that you need to sort of start that first notice of loss and, quite frankly, take care of a digital first notice of loss. This information wouldn't be shared with me, but it would be captured so that the insurance company has that information. But then what happens, so it identifies the two parties, then it prompts me for taking pictures. So we have, in our case, we have guided image capture, but I take the pictures of the car. So now it begins the process to begin getting the estimates created. And then it's going to have a couple more prompts, but it's actually even going to allow me through the process to say, okay, what about with my insurer says, would you like to use one of our direct repair shops? Yes. Okay, digitally, electronically, I pick the shop because they're served up to me. I see the ones that's convenient. I see the higher rated shops. I pick the shop electronically. So now it's scheduled me into the shop. It allows me to pick the rental car because it knows I'm going to need a rental car. I click a button and I know what my coverages are, and I pick, the type of car that I want. And then by then the estimate's completed. No one's looked at it yet, but the estimate, at least the initial AI estimate's been completed. It knows what parts are needed. So to Mark's point, it pushes a link, it searches for the parts, identifies the parts that, might be recommended by or preferred by the insurance company, brings them onto the estimate. And now it pushes all of this to the insurance company. And the insurance company, or the insurance company, but in this case, since I picked a DRP, and maybe it pushes it direct to the estimator. Maybe Paul's the estimator at the shop. And so now Paul can review this, hit it complete. As a customer, I'm going to receive the estimate. I then can click a button that says, I accept this. And what I'm saying is what's happened while I'm sitting at the accident scene is I've been able to report my claim digitally without talking to anyone. I've been able to take the pictures and create the estimate. I've been able to identify the parts needed and actually even get them sourced and ordered if I want to order them. If I click, everything's okay. I've been able to get my rental car scheduled, and I've been able to schedule a time in the shop. So all of that could be automated. Now, this is a little bit future state. Like I said, I don't have anyone that I know of that is there yet, but there's nothing from a technology side, there's nothing that prevents it. But the one dependency in this whole process, as I mentioned earlier with CIECA, is that all of these different groups that are a part of this, whether it's the parts company, the rental car company, the body shop, whoever, the insurance company, we all have to be speaking the same language. And that's where CIECA is so critical, to make sure that the data points, the data elements are consistent with all these providers, so that me as a customer, I'm like, wow, that within an hour, my claim's reported, I've got it scheduled, the parts are ordered, I've got a rental car set aside for me on the day I'm taking it in. All of this can happen very, very quickly. So to me, that's the future that I see right around the corner. And again, I think that ties very nicely to the importance of CIECA.
Thanks, Bill. Obviously, you just painted a picture of a very different customer experience, or at least hopefully a much more efficient customer experience in the future. Unfortunately, there will always be some disputes in the process. Mark, what's your thoughts on the issue of how disputes might be impacted by AI?
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about that, but this is, as we can get to, the main reason behind disputes is that you got different parties working on different assumptions. And because those decisions vary so much from one case to another, having some type of standard to kind of level the playing field, if you will, gives us the potential to reduce that by bringing really the consistency to the process with more data-driven decisions. And that's where AI can come in and help level the playing field. For example, I talked earlier about total loss identification. So we've been using this now. I think Bill's company, other companies have been doing this as well, where we've got total loss identification just through a handful of photos. Being able to get that car, collision repair facilities don't want to write total loss estimates. They don't want that car to sit on their lot for days or even weeks waiting for one of the salvers to come pick it up. And being able to identify that early in the process, hopefully it never even gets to the shop. And we've seen a lot of great success with AI preventing those total losses from even showing up to the shop. But then when it does get to the shop, just being able to take those photos of that, identify a total loss, system says it's good, and it's salvers on being automatically dispatched and on their way. All the back and forth that today goes between just in that one little process of determining total loss, getting the vehicle off the lot, getting everything scheduled, that there's so much friction in that process and inefficiency. That's just one example of where AI can, using data and facts, we can level the playing field and make processes much more efficient. But there's obviously in each phase of from all the way up front in claim determining, liability, confirming coverage, all the way across, just removing all those little inefficiencies through standards, through common data sets, and using AI to make sense of all that is just a massive opportunity for this industry.
Great. Well, we've got just a couple minutes left here. I'd like to leave a few minutes for questions from the audience. Bill, looking out 3 years from now, what do you see happening in the industry? Where do you see us going in that time?
So yes, I think there's.
Oh, we lost your mic again.
Bill, I think you're on mute.
Yep.
Well,
can you hear me now?
Yep. There you are.
Okay. All right. I don't know. It's not showing mute. I'm not sure why that's doing that. But when you look out into the future, the pace of change, the pace of this AI automation is just going to continue to grow. So I see things like self-service becoming much more common. We still have a lot of people that call, for example, to report their claim. I think that more people will take advantage of some self-service, maybe like what I described, but some kind of self-service. And I think we'll continue to see AI estimating. I had predicted that by this time, AI estimating would be about 80%. I think we're pretty close there now. It depends on the company, but I think that will continue. It will not much room to grow, but it will continue to grow a bit. One of the areas that I see that I think is really going to change pretty dramatically is total loss claims handling. And because there's a lot of, if you think about it, it's the total loss decision, of course, then it's the value of the car, and then it's, the information on the title, and then it's the payoff. And so there's several pieces to the puzzle. But with the technology available today, we really don't even have to wait on new technology. But with the technology today, implementing it in a way that, is effective, this total loss claim, which oftentimes I'm still seeing total loss cycle times of 2 weeks or something from total loss report until claim settled. I see about a 72-hour cycle for a total loss from identifying it as a total loss. If you do it at the first report with AI, you've got your damage, you've got your values. Mark's company, my company, we provide those very quickly. You're getting all the intelligence you need from banks electronically, from titling information. I see this process being really trimmed back to maybe 3 or 4 days. I know at one point I had predicted by this time, I think I said 60% of total losses would be settled within 72 hours. It didn't happen, but I do think that within the next 2 to 3 years, we will see 60 or 70% of total losses settled in about 3 days.
Great. Mark, again, we've got just a couple minutes.
Yep.
Some closing thoughts from you?
Yeah, I just along those same lines, like where is the future? I see agentic. Like I see agentic AI. Obviously, we're working on a lot of solutions. I know there's a lot of other technology companies in this industry doing the same. Being able to, when you map out all the jobs to be done, all those processes, manual steps that happen today, even though we're filling out forms and we're digitizing it, there's still so much opportunity to automate that through agentic AI. And so I think it's really critical that shops have their workflows in order, have their data in order to be able to really take advantage of that agentic AI. If things are a mess and files aren't updated, if they're waiting till the end of the month, for example, to close files, or not keeping status updates properly as the vehicle's moving through the process, it can't work as efficiently on dirty data. Although AI is getting much better at that, it needs to optimize it. You really need clean data. So I definitely expect to see a lot more agentic AI taking out a lot of those little low value manual steps out of the process to help make all of our people, from the CSR at the front, the estimator, the technician in the back, much more efficient on the shop side, and on the claim side likewise. And all the adjusting use cases we saw, agentic AI is going to come in and really be able to help. We're already seeing it today. It's not like it's brand new, but we're going to see it more and more start to escalate and take those manual steps out of the process.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Good information, both of you. Stacy Phillips-Ronak is our marketing director and has been monitoring the question panel. Stacy, do we have any questions for Mark and Bill?
Yes, our questions actually relate to what Mark was just mentioning in regard to preparing. As AI becomes more common in our industry, what skills do you think people in the shop will need more of, not less of? And then from a training perspective, what do you think technicians, estimators, or shop teams need to understand about AI so they can use it effectively in the real world?
Yeah, you want to pick that, Bill, or?
Sure. I don't know that, there's some training, obviously, like I use a different version, but it's like ChatGPT for, I need to write a report or something like that. And I've self-taught. I've kind of played around with it a little bit, and I've learned a lot about how to make it work. I think the thing that I would say in this space is it's really more about test and learn. I think you'll get trained on, how to use AI estimating or something of that nature. And then I think the thing that's really key is to actually just set it up. If you're a multi-shop operator, maybe you pick one of your shops to try it, and just put the process in place, get people trained up on it, and let them learn, test and learn, because they may find something that the trainer didn't even realize that the solution would do. It's kind of like using it in the real world. And then take those learnings to your peers, and then that's how you become very efficient with it. It's I'd like to say it's something you can just read in a book and you're proficient, but what I find with AI, and I've used a lot of different AI tools, you get trained on how it works, but really the learning that I've had is just playing around with it and learning how to make it work for me.
Yeah, I've seen the best teacher of AI is AI. Go into pick your model of choice, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever it is, and just ask it, like, what do I need to know? How do I create a better prompt? What type of prompts can I create? What can I ask you? Like, it'll answer. It'll be your coach and your teacher. It's the best teacher of itself, and teach you how to use, at least in the generative AI space. I use this quote from Andrew Ng. I'll paraphrase it here. Hopefully I get it right. But he says that AI will not replace humans, but humans that understand AI will replace those that don't. And so I would really urge everybody listening to just dig in, and just the best way to learn it is start using it. Go use the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, the Claudes. Try to write a little program. I mean, it's so amazing now. I've been doing this myself. I'm not an engineer by trade, but being able to use AI to write a fun little application, something that may be interesting to you, it really helps you understand like what the power of this technology is and what you can do with it. So just jump in and start doing it. Listen to some podcasts. It's going to be really important for all of us as business professionals, as industry professionals, even across the board, technicians, to understand the power, how it can help us do our jobs better. So just getting in there, learning, asking questions is important and key to getting up to speed.
Stacy, any additional questions?
No, those are the only ones for now.
Okay.
But we will be sending out an email with the link to the recording. And if anyone has questions, then please feel free to reach out and we can connect you with Bill and Mark.
Great. Thank you. Well, hey, Bill, Mark, great content, really good discussion. I think you did a nice job of kind of painting the full picture, which there was a lot there. I think somebody needs to put together an infographic that shows all the places where AI could be applied across the ecosystem, which would be fantastic. And with that, then I would just like to mention that in September, we have our CIECA Connects conference, September 29th through October 1st in San Antonio, Texas. If you would like to be a sponsor, we'd be more than happy to have you be a sponsor. Or if you'd like to be an attendee, you can go to connects.cieca.com and buy your registration today. So please join us. It's been a fantastic conference, and we get great speakers like Bill and Mark. So with that, thank you all very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you much.